The aftermath of All Out 2022 cast a shadow over AEW that it's only just coming out of 3 years later. What would have been different if that backstage fight between CM Punk and the Elite hadn't blown up like it did? Before we start fantasy booking, a quick reminder of the truly chaotic events of September 2022's All Out in Chicago. Punk won the world title from Jon Moxley, but injured his triceps in the match, putting him on the shelf for 9 months. At the post-show media scrum, a clearly hurting Punk sat next to AEW president Tony Khan and ate muffins while letting his frustrations loose.
I'm old and I'm tired, and I work with children.
He denied getting his former friend Colt Cabana taken off TV. He called Hangman Adam Page an empty-headed idiot, but he saved the biggest shots for Executive Vice Presidents Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, whom he contended couldn't manage a target. After the scrum, the Bucks and Omega came to Punk's dressing room and a fight broke out. It became known as Brawl Out among fans, and as news of it quickly spread, Khan was forced to act. He suspended everyone involved. He stripped Punk of his world championship. The Bucks and Omega were also stripped of their newly won Trios titles. Omega and the Bucks returned at Full Gear in November. After rumors that he sought a buyout for his contract, Punk came back in June 2023, but his AEW run ended for good after yet another backstage fight with Jack Perry at All In that August. So, if Punk had never injured his triceps, the scrum had gone down differently, and Brawl Out hadn't set off a firestorm, what would have happened instead? Let's imagine. Something that a lot of fans forget about All Out 2022, given all the insanity that followed it, was that the ending was pretty exciting. After 3 months away, m.j.f. made his return. He had gone through his own problems with the company, though it's hard to know what exactly was a work. m.j.f. no-showed a fan event before Double or Nothing in May, then cut a promo on the June 1st Dynamite in which he demanded to be fired and called Khan a mark. He later revealed he was angling for more money.
If you don't want to pay me what I'm worth, Daddy does not show up to work.
At All Out, m.j.f. emerged in a devil mask to win the casino ladder match for a shot at the AEW World Championship. Following Punk's title win, m.j.f. came out to stare down Punk and set off a championship feud that sadly never happened. Punk and m.j.f.'s feud from earlier that year, which included a brutal dog collar match at Revolution, is still seen as one of the best stories AEW has ever told. And the idea of having that tale continue with the world title involved had fans salivating. It's a safe bet that Punk and m.j.f. would have faced off in their third one-on-one match at Full Gear. In reality, m.j.f. won the title from Moxley at that show, and it's likely he would have beaten Punk for it too, but quite a bit would have probably been different. m.j.f. was being set up as the literal devil, AEW's top heel, and he'd been teasing leaving the company for years at that point, with his contract set to expire in 2024. In a year-long storyline, Punk could have acted as the top babyface who was desperate to stop m.j.f. from leaving AEW with the title. It could have all come to a head at All In or even World's End 2023, where Punk would maybe finally reclaim the belt. m.j.f.'s brief face turn and partnership with Adam Cole would have never happened. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks didn't just win the Trios title at All Out. They became the very first AEW World Trios champions. The championships were essentially made for them. Their introduction was even delayed because Omega spent the first half of 2022 injured. They did eventually win the titles back from Death Triangle in January 2023, but by then the bloom was off the rose. If the Elite had actually gotten their intended Trios title run, they obviously would have feuded with the other established trios, Death Triangle, the Blackpool Combat Club, House of Black, maybe even the Best Friends. Honestly, maybe things wouldn't have been that different, but there's one big possibility that never came to pass. Even if he hadn't expressed them at the media scrum, Punk still had those frustrations with the Elite. There would have been tension, and the possibility existed that Omega, the Bucks, and Hangman Page could have left AEW in 2023. Their deals were up, and there were reportedly very real discussions about testing the waters in WWE. The only reason they didn't leave is because they wanted to do things as a group, and they couldn't come to an agreement, so they stayed put. If things had gone differently, Punk may have stayed in AEW and steered the company further toward his vision of pro wrestling, while every wrestler who played a hand in founding AEW could be working for WWE right now. In the scenario where everyone involved in Brawl Out remained in AEW had the fight never happened, there's a chance that a dream match that never took place could have been booked in 2023. Punk's closest allies in AEW were Dax and Cash, FTR. They wrestled together as a trio several times under the name CMFTR, so why wouldn't they go after the Elite's trios titles? In reality, it was because Punk and the Elite were being kept entirely separate. The Elite only showed up on Dynamite while Punk held it down on Collision, but the Bucks and FTR or feuded over the tag titles, building to a match at All In. In different circumstances, that could have easily been a match that included Punk and Omega for the trios titles. Or it could have been two huge matches. Keep FTR versus the Bucks for the tag titles, and make Omega versus Punk a one-on-one dream match to see who gets to battle m.j.f. for the world title. That year's All Out, or the first Wrestle Dream, could have seen a continuation of the feud before both Punk and Omega realized that time was running out on m.j.f.'s title run. Then maybe you go to a three-way match for the championship. Nobody stepped up bigger than Jon Moxley to help keep AEW afloat in the midst of all the bad PR Brawl out generated.
I don't want to get dragged into this dumb.
He was among a group of veterans who reportedly gave locker room speeches to boost morale, and his first promo on the Dynamite immediately after All Out addressed the elephant in the room while also trying to steer the ship back on course. He talked about how important and meaningful the AEW World Championship and AEW itself were to him. The funny and kind of sad part of it all was that he wasn't even supposed to be there. Mox said in his impassioned promo, "I was supposed to be on vacation right now, like until about 2 days ago." Moxley had earned it. He was arguably in the midst of the best year of his career at that time after a healing stint in rehab. He had essentially been carrying AEW on his back throughout the summer while Punk was out with yet another injury to his foot, but he didn't get to go. Instead, he won back the AEW World Championship at Dynamite Grand Slam and held it until he dropped it to m.j.f. at Full Gear. So what would have happened with Mox if he had actually gotten to take his vacation? Potentially, his feud with Hangman Adam Page would have started later, and maybe the Hangman wouldn't have suffered that nasty concussion that reportedly led to him forgetting his own son's name. The Blackpool Combat Club storyline would have definitely turned out differently too. As he was on his way out of AEW, William Regal turned on Mox and helped m.j.f. beat him for the title. Had Moxley been out on a beach somewhere, Regal would have had to take a different approach to leaving the group. Maybe he would have turned on Bryan Danielson or Claudio Castagnoli, or perhaps he wouldn't have had to turn heel on anybody. Before he debuted in AEW in August 2021, CM Punk seemed to have no intentions of ever going back to WWE. Though he briefly served as a commentator on WWE Backstage in 2019, he was also openly critical of the company, particularly their shows in Saudi Arabia.
How many Saudi Arabia shows do they have to do to bring back CM Punk?
I'm not doing a single one of those.
No, I'm saying how many they have to.
After he got to AEW, he implied in his first promo that what WWE did wasn't real pro wrestling. He later told m.j.f. that WrestleMania was a buy one get one free extravaganza, and that the salt of the earth would quickly get released if he went there. How quickly things change, huh? It seems abundantly clear that Punk's sour experiences in AEW, which culminated with Brawl Out, but never got much better from there, are what sent him back to the Fed after years of swearing he never would. If you go back and watch the footage of the All Out scrum, Punk wasn't angry at AEW as a company, at least not yet. If anything, he was passionate about it and wanted to help the company grow. He just thought the Elite, the group after which the company is named, mind you, were holding it back. Punk knew then, and probably still knows now, that AEW existing is important for the wrestling business as a whole. It's particularly important in that it gives wrestlers somewhere else to work and be paid well for it. As much tension as there was backstage in AEW at the time, Punk would have easily kept everything bottled up and stayed with AEW if everything had been handled more professionally. That said, there's no telling if Punk wouldn't have gone back to WWE under other circumstances, but he wouldn't have made his shocking return at Survivor Series 2023 not even 3 full months after getting fired from AEW, that's for sure. Maybe his wife AJ Lee would have joined him for a mixed tag in AEW eventually instead of WWE, where they faced off against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. It's also pretty likely that had Brawl Out never happened, the backstage fight with Perry at All In 2023 wouldn't have happened either. That means AEW would have never aired the security footage of the confrontation, which was yet another PR black eye for the company.